The alien warlord gave his crippled daughter to the strongest human slave. No one expected his choice. The arena floor was stained red with blood that never fully washed away. Marcus Chen stood in the center of the combat pit, his chest heaving as he watched his opponent. A massive Kralvax warrior named Thork collapsed to the ground. The alien's blue-scaled body twitched once, then went still. The crowd erupted. Not in cheers, but in angry hisses and growls. The Kralvax spectators did not like what they had just witnessed. They wanted glory. They wanted honor. They wanted to see warriors clash in tests of pure strength. Instead, they had watched a human use dirt. Marcus had thrown sand into Thork's eyes at the critical moment, then swept his legs when the warrior was blinded. It was not honorable. It was not fair by Kralvax standards, but it had kept Marcus alive for another day. The human wins. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena. Victory number 100 for the thinking prey. But he was alive. That was all that mattered. In the slave quarters beneath the arena, the other humans erupted in quiet celebration. They could not cheer too loudly. The guards would punish them for it. But they smiled. They clasped Marcus on the shoulder as he passed. Old women whispered prayers of thanks. Children looked at him with hope in their eyes. "You did it, Doc," whispered James, a former soldier who had lost his leg in the war. 100 fights. Nobody thought you'd make it past 10. He just nodded and moved to his corner where his medical supplies were hidden. He had bargained for them, traded his food rations for needles and thread. Now he stitched his own wounds while the others watched. "What do you think they'll do?" asked Sarah, a young woman who had been captured during Earth's final battle. 100 victories has to mean something. His hands were steady despite the pain. Years as a field medic had taught him that. Until one of them kills me. These were elite warriors, wearing the crimson armor of Warlord Shakarn's personal guard. "Human, come," one of them commanded in broken English. Marcus stood slowly. The other slaves watched with worried faces. When the elite guard came for someone, that person rarely returned. They led him through corridors he had never seen before. The slave quarters were underground, dark and damp. But these hallways were different. They had windows showing the alien sky. The walls were decorated with weapons and battle trophies. This was the palace proper. Finally, they reached a massive chamber. Warlord Shakarn sat on a throne made from the bones of some enormous creature. The warlord was huge, even by Kralvax standards. His scales were dark purple, almost black, and covered in scars that he wore like medals. His eyes were cold and calculating. Around him stood dozens of other Kralvax, officers, nobles, rival warlords. They all watched Marcus with expressions ranging from curiosity to disgust. "The human who has achieved 100 victories," Shakarn said in perfect English. His voice was deep and rumbling like distant thunder. "Tell me, Marcus Chen, how does a weak creature like you survive where stronger humans have fallen?" "I learn, I adapt," Marcus said simply. Several Kralvax in the room hissed with displeasure at his directness, but Shakarn's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "You do not fight with honor," Shakarn observed. "I fight to live," Marcus replied. "Honor doesn't feed the children in my block. Honor doesn't heal the sick." Then he stood, his massive frame casting a shadow over Marcus. "For your 100th victory, you have earned a reward," Shakarn announced loudly so all could hear. "I am giving you my daughter, Princess Vela, as your servant wife." Marcus himself stood frozen. A wife, the warlord's daughter, nothing about this made sense. "My lord," one of the officers protested in English, clearly wanting Marcus to understand. "The princess is of royal blood. To give her to a human slave, even one who has won 100 fights. Broken, her legs do not work as they should. In our culture, this makes her worthless. You are a human slave, also worthless. It seems appropriate that two worthless creatures should be together." A way to dispose of an embarrassing daughter by pairing her with someone the warlord considered equally useless. You will be given quarters in the palace, Shakarn continued. You will protect her. If she dies while under your care, you will die slowly. If you harm her, you will die even more slowly. Do you understand? As Marcus climbed the stairs, he noticed there were no ramps, no elevators. For someone who could not walk properly, this location was a prison. The guards opened a heavy door and pushed Marcus inside. Then they left, locking the door behind them. The room was large but sparse. There were books, hundreds of them, scattered everywhere. Technology tablets, star charts on the walls. In the corner was a simple bed, and sitting on it was a young Kralvax female. She was smaller than the males Marcus had seen, with lighter blue scales. Her face was delicate by Kralvax standards, but it was her eyes that struck him. They were bright and alert, full of intelligence, and full of anger. "So," she said in perfect English, startling Marcus, "you are the human they have cursed me with. I'm assessing, not judging. When you cannot walk, you find other ways to travel. Books, languages, knowledge. Not that anyone here cares. All of them strong, powerful, perfect by Kralvax standards. Your father called us both worthless," Marcus said. "He is not wrong," Vela replied bitterly. "I am a defect. You are a conquered animal. Usually right before I prove them wrong. Your father put us together because he thinks we're both garbage. We have no power here, no resources, no allies. Equals." But in that moment, something shifted. Two broken things, discarded by a warrior culture that valued only strength, had found each other. And that, though neither realized it yet, would change everything. Marcus woke on the floor. Vela had not offered him the bed, and he had not asked for it. He had slept in worse places: the slave quarters, the arena holding cells, battlefield trenches during the war. A stone floor in a tower room was practically luxury. The morning light came through the window, purple-tinted from the alien sun. Marcus sat up slowly, checking his wounds. The cut on his arm was healing well. His ribs still ached, but not as badly as yesterday. Vela was already awake, sitting at a desk covered with tablets and books. She had not acknowledged his presence. "Good morning," Marcus said. She grunted in response, not looking up from her reading. Marcus stood and stretched, then began examining the room more carefully. The layout was terrible for someone who could not walk easily. The bathroom was up 3 steps. The shelves were too high. The furniture was arranged with no thought for accessibility. "What are you doing?" Vela asked, watching him suspiciously as he started moving a heavy chair. "Fixing things," Marcus replied. He pushed the chair against the wall, then dragged a table next to it. "You need to be able to reach your books without crawling. Why do you care? That is nature. You are slaves now. The guards will destroy it. They destroy everything I try to change." Something that might have been hope, quickly hidden. By the afternoon, Marcus had managed to bargain with a servant for scrap materials. The servant was Kralvax, but from a lower caste, one of the workers who maintained the palace. Marcus offered to treat the servant's infected wound in exchange for wood and nails. The servant agreed, suspicious but desperate. Marcus cleaned and bandaged the wound with supplies he had hidden in his clothing. The Kralvax looked amazed when the pain decreased. "You are healer?" the servant asked in broken English. "I was," Marcus said, "before." "You are wasting your time. Why does it matter to you? You know nothing about me. I know you're brilliant, and everyone here is too stupid to see it. But when the servant came, I heard you speaking Kralvax trade tongue. You should not know that language well enough to bargain. Show me speak Kralvax. You just told the servant that his mother was a cooking pot. If you are going to butcher my language, at least do it correctly." In exchange, Marcus taught her better English and told her about Earth. "We had oceans," Marcus said one evening. his hands still covered in sawdust from building a wheeled chair. Huge bodies of water, larger than your capital city. Blue like your scales but darker. Vela listened, her expression softer than Marcus had seen before. Your world sounds beautiful. I am sorry you lost it. They were led by an officer named Vrax, the same one who had protested Marcus's assignment in the throne room. Vrax looked at the ramp Marcus had built, at the modified furniture, at the wheeled chair. His face twisted with disgust. "What is this?" he demanded in Kralvax. Marcus stood slowly. "Improvements to the princess's quarters." "This is not the Kralvax way." One of them smashed the wheeled chair Marcus had spent 2 days building. Vela sat at her desk, her face expressionless. She had seen this before. She had learned not to react, but Marcus reacted. He stepped between the guards and Vela's desk. "Enough," he said. Vrax moved close to Marcus, towering over him. "You forget your place, human. You are property. She is garbage. If I wanted, I could kill you both right now. If you kill me, you disobey his direct command. Are you willing to face his anger? Destroy everything the human built. Leave nothing." Marcus stood among the wreckage, his hands clenched into fists. "I told you," Vela said softly. "I told you it was pointless." "What are you doing?" Vela asked. "Starting over," Marcus said. He picked up a piece of wood that was still intact. "They broke it. I'll build it better. Until they realize they can't break me. It's a human trait." "This piece," she said, holding up a section of wood. "It can be reused, and this metal, the joint is still good. If you are going to rebuild, at least do it efficiently." Outside the tower in the shadows, a servant watched through the window. The same servant Marcus had healed. The servant who had brought him materials. The servant smiled and walked away, already planning what to tell the other lower caste workers. The human was different. The human saw value where the warriors saw only weakness. And in the palace of Warlord Shakarn, that simple difference was about to change everything. 2 weeks passed. Marcus rebuilt everything the guards destroyed, and they destroyed it again, and he rebuilt it again. It became a silent war, the guards breaking, Marcus building over and over. But something was changing. The lower caste servants began helping Marcus quietly, bringing better materials, showing him hidden storage areas. Word spread through the palace about the human who refused to quit. Vela changed too. She began sitting with Marcus while he worked, not just teaching him Kralvax but talking, really talking. She told him about growing up invisible, about her mother who had died in shame after giving birth to a defective child, about her brilliant mind that no one valued. Marcus told her about Earth, about his wife who had died in the bombardment, about the children in the slave quarters he fought to protect. They shared their scars, their losses, their stubborn refusal to give up. "You remind me of her," Marcus said one evening, carefully sanding a piece of wood. "My wife, she was a teacher, brilliant like you, refused to let anyone tell her what she couldn't do. She would have liked you." It was not the regular guards. It was a full contingent of warriors in ceremonial armor, led by a massive Kralvax Marcus had never seen before. This Kralvax's scales were blood red, covered in battle scars. His eyes were cruel and intelligent. Behind him stood Vrax and a dozen other officers. "So this is the famous human," the red-scaled Kralvax said in perfect English. "The thinking prey who refuses to die. How amusing. I am Warlord Crethis, ruler of the Southern Territories. I have heard much about you, human. Surviving where stronger humans failed." Crethis walked around the room, examining Marcus's work. "Tell me, do you know why you are still alive?" Marcus had reinforced it after the last destruction. "You fight like a coward, using tricks and deception. It disgusts the crowds, but they cannot look away. You are like a disease they cannot cure. This tower is my father's property." "What kind of challenge?" "I am challenging him to enter his strongest human, in the next proving. Shakarn will be humiliated. His claim that this slave is valuable will be exposed as a lie. He will lose face before the entire empire. If Marcus refused to fight, Shakarn would look weak. If Marcus fought and died quickly, Shakarn would look foolish. "What if I win?" Marcus asked quietly. The entire room erupted in laughter. Even Vrax was grinning. "You," Crethis said, his laughter fading. "You will face warriors who have trained their entire lives. Kralvax champions from every territory, the strongest fighters in the Empire. You are a middle-aged human who wins through cowardice and luck. You will not survive the opening ceremony, let alone the actual fights." Broadcast across the Empire, every slave colony would be watching, every human would see. "I have a condition," Marcus said. The room went silent. "You have no position to make conditions," Crethis growled. "Then you have no tournament," Marcus replied. "I can refuse to fight." Shakarn would be angry, but he could execute me quietly. You would lose your opportunity to embarrass him publicly. The right to review fight recordings between matches, and she advises me on tactics. "This is outrageous," Vrax protested, but Crethis was smiling coldly. "Interesting. The human wants his crippled princess to watch him die up close. Very well, I accept your condition. I will present this challenge to Shakarn tonight. Enjoy your last 2 weeks, human. I have already selected the warrior who will kill you in the first round. His name is Drakthar. He has never lost a fight. He kills for pleasure. You just agreed to certain death. You said you've studied tactics, military strategy. You have access to the palace database, right? You told me Kralvax warriors value honor above all else. That makes them predictable. And every fight I survive, every opponent I defeat, sends a message to every human watching." Marcus leaned forward. "We're not just fighting for me, Vela. We're fighting to give people hope." Marcus could see it in her eyes. "No, but you are," Marcus replied. "You're the smartest person I've ever met. If anyone can find a way to keep me alive, it's you. I need to know exactly what your body can do. Strength, speed, endurance, flexibility, everything. Not hope exactly, but determination, purpose. For the first time in her life, someone needed her mind, valued her intelligence, saw her as essential rather than worthless. They worked through the night. Vela pulled up files on every warrior registered for the Great Proving. There were 53 competitors. Marcus would have to defeat at least 20 to reach the final rounds. "This one, Drakthar," Vela said, showing Marcus a video. Crethis was not lying. He has won 48 consecutive fights. He is brutal, efficient, and strong. Right fist first, then left, then a kick, every single time. You'll call out his attacks, and I'll train my body to react without thinking." She would watch, correct, advise. The servants began helping too, quietly. They brought better food for Marcus to build strength. They smuggled in medical supplies. They created practice weapons. One night, a week before the tournament, Marcus collapsed from exhaustion. Vela pulled herself across the floor to where he lay. "You need to rest," she said softly. "Can't, not enough time. You will die if you exhaust yourself before the tournament even begins. You have every advantage they do not expect." She paused. "And you have something else they do not have. When did you become an optimist?" She would work through the night, finding every possible advantage. Because somewhere along the way, keeping Marcus alive had stopped being about survival. It had become personal. The Great Proving Arena was 10 times larger than the slave fighting pits. 50,000 Kralvax packed the seats, their roars shaking the stone walls. Banners from every territory hung from the ceiling. This was the Empire's greatest spectacle. Marcus stood in the preparation chamber, his heart pounding. Around him were the other fighters, massive Kralvax warriors, each one a champion from their region. They looked at him with contempt and amusement. A human. In the Great Proving, it was an insult to them all. Vela sat in her wheeled chair beside him. Marcus had carried her down from the tower himself. The other fighters had laughed at that too. "Remember," Vela said quietly in English, reviewing her tablet. "Drakthar leads with his right fist. Wait for it. Dodge left, not right. His follow-up is always to the right side. I have calculated 17 different scenarios. In 14 of them, you survived the first match. 2 weeks ago, you never would have joked. Move." The crowd's roar was deafening when he emerged, but it was not excitement, it was anger. They were shouting insults in Kralvax. Some threw garbage into the arena. Then Drakthar entered from the opposite side. He was even bigger in person. His black scales seemed to absorb light. His muscles rippled under his armor. He carried a massive war hammer that Marcus could barely lift with both hands. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena. The first match of the great proving. Drakthar the Unstoppable versus the human called Thinking Prey. As a courtesy, Marcus ducked. The kick followed. Marcus rolled away. The crowd gasped. The human had survived the opening combination. Drakthar roared in frustration and attacked again. Same pattern, right-left kick. Marcus dodged, ducked, rolled. He was not trying to win yet, just survive. Learn, confirm Vela's analysis. "You are fast," Drakthar admitted, "but you cannot dodge forever." The warrior could not change them even when they stopped working. Marcus waited for the next charge. Right fist. Marcus dodged left, but this time he struck with his staff, hitting Drakthar's extended elbow. Not hard enough to break it, but enough to hurt. Drakthar howled. His left fist came slower, favoring the injured arm. Marcus dodged and struck again, same spot. The crowd was silent now, watching in disbelief. Drakthar abandoned technique and rushed forward with pure rage, but rage made him sloppy. Marcus sidestepped, tripped him with the staff, and as the massive warrior fell, Marcus brought the staff down hard on the back of Drakthar's knee. Something cracked. Drakthar collapsed, roaring in pain. Marcus stood over him, staff raised. In Kralvax's tradition, he could kill Drakthar now. The crowd waited, but Marcus lowered his weapon. "Yield," he said in Kralvax. "I do not need to kill you." Drakthar stared up at Marcus, his expression twisted with pain and humiliation. Then he nodded once. "I yield." His legs were shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. Vela was waiting, her face glowing with triumph. 14 scenarios, she said. "We got scenario 6, the optimal outcome. Then you rest for 3 days before the next round." Vela was already pulling up files on his next opponent. "But Marcus, something else happened during your fight." The slaves had watched the broadcast. They were celebrating. "They are calling you the survivor," Vela said softly. "They are sharing the video across every colony network. The Kralvax have not blocked it yet because they do not understand its significance. It is changing something." The next 2 weeks were brutal. Marcus fought every 3 days. Each opponent was stronger, faster, more skilled than the last, but Vela studied them all, finding patterns, weaknesses, psychological tells. Marcus won his second fight by using the arena's sand to blind his opponent, just like in his 100th victory. The crowds hated it, but he survived. He won his third fight by breaking his opponent's concentration, talking to him in Kralvax, asking about his family, disrupting his focus. The warrior became so angry he made mistakes. He won his fourth fight by pure endurance, refusing to stay down no matter how many times he was knocked to the ground. The opponent eventually exhausted himself. Between fights, Vela worked on something else. She had been communicating secretly with the lower caste servants who had connections to the slave colonies. She was sending messages, encoded in the broadcasts of Marcus's fights. Hand gestures, specific movements, arena positions that corresponded to numbers and letters. She was transmitting guard schedules, security codes, weapon depot locations. "What are you doing?" Marcus asked one night watching her work. "Preparing," Vela said simply. "You are not the only one fighting, Marcus. All across the empire, humans are watching, learning, planning. They certainly do not imagine a crippled princess would help them. Her expression was fierce. My father threw me away, he threw you away, but we are turning his garbage into weapons. Over the weeks, such gestures had become natural between them. You're taking huge risks. By the fourth week of the tournament, Marcus had reached the semifinals. He had defeated 12 opponents. His body was covered in bruises, his ribs were cracked again, his left eye was swollen shut. But he was alive, and the empire was changing. Human slave populations were restless. The Kralvex authorities reported increased defiance, slower work rates, whispered conversations that stopped when guards approached. More importantly, other species within the empire were watching. The Kralvex had conquered dozens of worlds. All those conquered peoples saw a human, a supposedly weak species, defeating Kralvex champions. In his semifinal match, Marcus faced a warrior named Groth, who had won the last two great provings. Groth was brilliant, adaptive, nothing like the pattern-based fighters Marcus had faced before. The match lasted 45 minutes. Groth anticipated Marcus's tricks, countered his environmental tactics, matched his endurance. Marcus was losing badly, bleeding from a dozen wounds. But then Vela noticed something. She had been watching not just Groth, but the crowd. Specifically, she watched Groth watching the crowd between exchanges. He was performing, showing off for the nobles in the premium seats. She whispered her observation to Marcus during a break. His pride, use it. And Marcus swept his legs out from under him. Groth crashed down. Marcus was on him instantly, using a hold Vela had taught him from ancient Kralvex wrestling, a technique so old that modern warriors had forgotten the counter. Groth struggled, but the hold was perfect. Slowly his movements weakened. He was not being killed, just choked until unconscious. When Groth went limp, Marcus released him and stood. The arena was absolutely silent. Semi-final match to the human, the announcer said, his voice hollow with shock. Marcus had reached the finals. That night, as Vela tended Marcus's wounds in their tower room, alarms began ringing across the palace. "What is that?" Marcus asked. Vela checked her tablet, then looked up with wide eyes. Reports coming in from 12 slave colonies. Simultaneous uprisings, power grids failing, communication networks disrupted, supply depots sabotaged. Your semifinal victory, it was the signal. He was laughing. "Sit down, human," Shakarn said, his voice amused. "I am not here to kill you. I have been watching you, both of you, since the day I gave you my daughter. You think I did not know exactly what you were planning. And I wanted to see if humans were as dangerous as I suspected. Enhanced, trained since birth, undefeated in 300 matches. An offer that will change this empire forever." They looked at each other, both thinking the same thing. Tomorrow's fight was not just about the tournament. It was a test, and the fate of every human in the empire depended on whether Marcus passed.